I think I speak for most people when I say that I am not normally a big fan of water levels in video games. In most cases, I find them to be arduous slogs, plagued by poor control schemes and frustrating mechanics like limited air meters to create an artificial sense of difficulty. They also have a tendency to grind the pace of a game to a screeching halt with slow, ponderous movement. This sentiment is shared across many different games, platformers or otherwise, but there are certain exceptions to this water level curse. Water levels that break free of the shackles that hold their contemporaries back and stand out as not only good levels, but some of the best in their respective games. One such example is Banjo-Tooie's Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Not to be confused with the similarly named Jolly Roger Bay from Super Mario 64, Jolly Roger's Lagoon is the fourth world of Banjo-Tooie and takes place in a pleasant seaside town. This place just oozes with charm. It feels so quaint, with lots of small shops and businesses around, each of which being home to a couple of different characters. You've got Jolly Roger, the mayor of the town who runs the local inn. There's Porno the pawnbroker who runs a little shop as well. One thing I love about him is the animation that sometimes plays when he's talking to you where he gets hit by the till. Such a funny detail. Captain Blubber makes a comeback too, and he's now opened up a business for hiring out wave racers. A pretty nice reference to the post-credit scene from the first game. Tip-Tup's here too, and you actually have to help him out by hatching his son's egg with Kazooie. One of the coolest characters that we see here is Captain Black-Eye, who you can find at the back of Jolly's Inn. The reason his inclusion is so cool is that he was one of the characters from Rarewire's original vision for Banjo-Kazooie, Project Dream, where he was meant to be the main villain. Some of his dialogue even makes reference to this. It's pretty neat. You can also find a frame photo of Treasure Trove Cove in the room that he's in. I love the callbacks here. All of these characters being here creates a real sense of a community and makes the world feel truly lived in. This is something that we see throughout the whole of Banjo-Tooie, but this world in particular is where it really stands out for me. Another neat aspect of this level is the fact that it has its own unique collectible in the form of a currency, doubloons. Around town, you can find some of these scattered around and you can spend them on quite a few different things. For example, you can buy running shoes from Blubber, a Cheeto page and a Jiggy from Porno, and even a room at the inn from Jolly Roger where you'll find jam jars ready to teach you a move. The funny part is that you don't actually have to pay for this room. You can instead just blow the door off its hinges using a grenade egg and take the room for yourself. I love that this is an option. The doubloons are nothing major, but they're one of those little things that helps to add to the small town vibe of this level, and helps it to stick out even more in my head. The town has a couple of other points of interest, like a wall you can blow up leading to a cave, as well as a couple of pools. One of the pools has some more characters around it. The pigs who want to go for a swim, but can't because A, there's a sewage pipe dumping waste into it from Grunty Industries, and B, the brightness of the sun is making it too hot to go in. Helping these little guys out eventually earns you a Jiggy, but it's one of the most multifaceted tasks that this game makes you do. You have to disable the sewage pipe from Grunty Industries, and then murder this poor, innocent ice cube in cold blood by knocking it out of Cloud Cuckoo Land into a pool of boiling water and hailfire peaks to cool it down, and open a door to allow the newly cooled water into the pig's pool. This is one of the best examples of the interconnectivity between the worlds in this game. I love how many layers there are to it. On the surface, Jolly Roger's Lagoon appears to be a rather small world with a nice atmosphere. Nothing too standout here, but it's a pretty charming area. However, it's when you start to dive deeper that you truly see what makes this world so amazing. You see, alongside the pool for the pigs, there's another larger pool in the middle of the world. Dive in, and you'll see that there's a large hole in the center of it. Swim into this hole, and it leads to a large underwater cavern. Pretty nifty, right? But that's not all. Inside this cavern, you'll find a tunnel, and when you enter it, you're greeted with a massive Atlantis-style area full of ancient underwater ruins and sea creatures, accompanied by a whimsical, mysterious score. A stark contrast to the jovial, shanty-esque tone of the music that played in the town. Coming off this room, there are even more tunnels leading to even more areas, creating a huge, sprawling underwater network that makes up the bulk of this level. When I first discovered these vast underwater caves as a kid, my mind was blown. This is the true beauty of Jolly Roger's Lagoon. What seems like a simple level initially becomes something much grander in scope as you delve deeper into it. Now, you might be wondering, with all of this water, isn't it really annoying to try and keep Banjo and Kazooie alive and stop them from drowning? Plus, isn't it painful to navigate with the swimming controls from the first game? Well, fortunately, the developers thought ahead here, and there are very good solutions to both of those issues. Starting with the Baron Bud Duo's limited air meter, that issue is negated in this world by Mumbo's magic. By using his magic pad, Mumbo is able to oxygenate the entire lagoon using the power of the sun. This means that when you're swimming underwater, you don't have to worry about drowning or keeping track of your air meter, because in this level, it's unlimited. This was such a clever move, as it means that you can properly take your time to explore this world's every nook and cranny without having to think about finding an air pocket to resurface in. Then there's the matter of the swimming controls. In the first game, you could press A to use Kazooie's wings to push you forward in the water, or B to paddle with Banjo for finer movements. It worked, but I never found it to be ideal. Banjo-Tooie, on the other hand, introduces a new way of swimming which you learn from none other than Royston, Banjo's pet goldfish in Spiral Mountain. He teaches you a faster way of swimming where you simply just press A and B together and away you go. It just feels so much better than before. It is not only faster, but also far easier to control, and you can still make fine adjustments by pressing A or B individually if you wish. These two solutions offered to the player are so simple, and yet are able to mitigate some of the biggest issues that other water levels suffer from. It makes Jolly Roger's Lagoon a joy to explore, rather than a chore. Speaking of which, there is just so much packed into this place, and so many different areas to get lost in. There are a ton of caverns to explore, the largest of which being Atlantis. This area is home to a bunch of different ruins, all of which have something different going on, both from a thematic point of view and in terms of what you can do inside. You've got the ancient swimming baths, a very cool area aesthetically which contains a couple of collectibles. There's the electric eels lair, which, as the name suggests, is home to the electric eel enemies, and you learn a move from jam jars here. There's also the Temple of the Fishes, a gorgeous building with some old, long-forgotten paintings and murals on the walls. Here, you'll find another pig who is genuinely named Chris P. Bacon. I love it. He's trying to take some photos of the artwork on the walls, and you have to protect him from some very angry looking fish trying to eat him. It's one of the harder jiggies in this game. I remember struggling a lot with it when I was younger, and even now it takes me at least a couple of tries. Then you got the Seaweed Sanctum, an abandoned, submerged shrine overrun with seaweed enemies. You have to make your way up to the top of here while fending off the seaweed guys, and this takes you to another cavern where you'll find a giant fish. You have to do something which feels quite cruel by knocking out its teeth using Kazooie's eggs, and that allows you to go inside its mouth where you're able to rescue Jolly's missing partner. What is it with this era of games and making you go inside fish? This is not the first time an N64 game has made me do this, and it's starting to freak me out a little bit. Outside of Atlantis, one cavern that you'll stumble across is home to Humberwumber and her wigwam. What's different in this level is that her wigwam is partially submerged in the water. That's because this transformation is a very fitting one considering the theming of this world, the Submarine. From a utility point of view, this has to be one of my favourites in the game. With this thing, you're able to swim around to your heart's content, although funnily enough, if you try to use the warp pad to teleport back to town, jam jars will stop you from doing so. That never stopped me as a kid though. I still manually took this thing all the way to the surface just to see what would happen, and well, nothing really did, to be honest. It was kind of underwhelming. The Submarine also has access to a couple of unique abilities. One such ability is emitting sonar waves, which can freeze those annoying octopus guys in the tunnels in between rooms, which I find a lot easier than using the ice eggs. The second main ability that you have at your disposal is being able to launch an infinite supply of torpedoes, which pack a serious punch. Not having to worry about running out of ammo is a huge perk, which I always abuse in one particular section of the level, which, well, we might as well talk about now. One rather interesting area that you'll find in this world is a submerged locker room. You'll notice that each locker is labelled with a different name, and you might recognise a few familiar ones in the mix here. That's because these are the names of the team members who worked on the game. Grant Kirkhope and Chris Sutherland, for example. There is, however, one notable exception to this pattern. None other than Davy Jones's locker, which, as you may notice, has a rather cracked, rusted-looking door. Blast it open and it reveals an entrance. Go into the locker and you'll be faced with this world's boss, Lord Wu Fak Fak, a giant anglerfish. Man, the inside of a locker? What an awesome arena for a boss fight to take place in. As for Lord Wu himself, I find him to be one of the hardest bosses in Banjo-Tooie. The way that you beat him is by shooting his boils when they start to glow, which is oddly gruesome and slightly disturbing. As I mentioned earlier, what I like to do here is abuse the submarine's infinite ammo so I don't have to worry about stocking up on eggs. It's a foolproof technique that I've used since I was a kid and it still hasn't failed me yet. As Banjo-Tooie's designated water level, I can't say that I was expecting too much from Jolly Roger's Lagoon. However, this world didn't just exceed my expectations, it blew them out of the water in every sense of the phrase. It started out as a seemingly basic level, yet expanded to become so much more. It provided a ton of scope for exploration and was home to so many cool characters and challenges. It overcame the typical pitfalls of water levels by mitigating them with simple yet undeniably clever solutions. All of this makes Jolly Roger's Lagoon not only a level I enjoy, but a level that I consider to be my favourite in the game.